This is the Team Objection podcast from March 18th, 2021, episode 475, and it's finally happening, as you can tell from Shaun's shirt. If you're watching us on YouTube, we're going to actually review Persona 5 Royal. I mean, we did before, but it was lost to the ether, so instead we're going to do just the important stuff now.
We're going to try not to lose this one.
Very quick programming note of, I can't see you guys on my end, so on air. You didn't share your screen, Chris, sorry.
Well, I'm glad you alerted me to this before we started.
Well, I thought you were going to fix it.
We're so unprofessional. Like, Dave didn't tell us this. I didn't have my notes pulled up until just now.
There.
I have my notes pulled up. Don't worry. It's all good.
I guess we have to start with the programming note as well of this is going to be just spoiler palooza, okay? Last time we did a whole episode about some of the mechanics and changes and like there were light spoilers, but nothing that was really game breaking. If you have, for some reason, intended to play Persona 5 Royal but haven't yet, you got to get the hell out of here unless you don't mind spoilers, because we're just going to be talking about all the major stuff right from the jump.
Basically everything that happens in the new content. Spoiler alert, there's new content.
Yeah.
It's interesting though, like when we become famous, it's going to be like, you know, when an author dies but they find like an unfinished manuscript in like his basement and they try to like publish it. That's what it's going to be like for our first part review of Persona 5 Royal. People are going to be so hungry for the lost footage that they're going to be willing to sit through just Dave having audio in his review.
To try to piece together what I might have been responding to.
Exactly. And that'll be a treasure.
We can get a lip reader. We can put up closed captions.
Yeah, for our great-great-grandchildren, they're going to love this shit.
You know, for 10 years you've been saying, for when we get famous.
Well, it's going to be a shame when we're like Herman Melville and Moby Dick only blows up long after we die.
Yep. Like Pablo Picasso, who's super famous after he dies or after he cuts off his ear. It's like, oh, man.
Just like him, they'll spell our names wrong on our own obituaries.
Yep, perfect.
Yeah, I never expected to really make it big with this. That wasn't never the intent. It would have been nice. I wasn't opposed to it, but I'm of two minds on it because like we haven't really grown. But again, from having done no promotion whatsoever, we still have triple digits on every episode for people listening, and that's not counting YouTube as well, which is another 25, 30, sometimes more given the episode. So like we're doing okay. We built an audience. It didn't really expand, but we did all right.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. But like so far, I think it's important. Like catch there.
All it takes is one thing. If Dave goes and does something that makes it viral, all it takes is one thing.
Dave, go viral today. Talk about how you want to QAnon Kasumi.
You can't go viral. You already stole a vaccine.
Oh. Well. Oh well. Well, shoot, I forgot what I was going to say.
You're the one who has the notes!
I was going to let you segue, but then instead you were drowning, and I was like, oh shit, I better save him.
Well, you threw me off with the viral thing. Anyway, so...
Dave, we're just kidding. No one steals viruses. We don't think you're like hoarding anthrax in your house, okay?
That would be interesting,
You're not doing
allegedly.
That right.
Allegedly. Yep, yeah, it's QAnon stuff. That's how it is.
Right.
Anyway, so spoiler palooza. For the first thing that blew me away about the extra content in this is Akechi, because the voice actor and the personality they adopt absolutely nails it, and I was so just enthralled with how the guy was like, all right, I'm not even putting a facade of niceness. I'm insane, and I will kill everyone in my way. And it was awesome.
Well, so I loved that. So one of the changes is Akechi is much more prominent in this game than he was in the first game. Throughout the main course of the game, he is a confidant now. You actually have to go spend time with him. It's not an automatic thing. And the relationship is incredible. I love it so much. And I'm not like, there are those that we have viewers where they're like, if there's two guys, we got to ship them. They will ship 2 guys, 2 girls, whatever, all the time, because that's more interesting to them, and that's fine. I am totally with them on this one. I actually thought, chemistry-wise, there's very few characters with better chemistry with the main character than Akechi.
Except for the whole fact that Akechi tried to kill him.
Yeah, but that just adds to it, don't you know?
Yeah, but that's hot.
I don't think that works in real life. Maybe I tried to be too realistic about my relationships, but I'm like, But
that's why it's so tragic. Like he knew what he had to do from the beginning. This is like the Fast and Furious, but like poetic and well done. Like from the very beginning, Akechi knew he was gonna have to kill this person, but he couldn't help but be completely charmed along the way and create a great bond.
Yeah, the path of the path of the confidant, I think, was really interesting, and just like how you go out and you like pick each other's brain for a while, and then you get towards the end of the confidant link, and it's like, oh, we're gonna fight. Oh, don't worry, I will get the best of you. And it's like, whoa, that sounds kind of ominous. I don't know what to think about this. And then, he shoots you in the head and then, dies. And then you kind of finish the confidant link after the fact. It's like, oh, okay, this is interesting. Didn't expect you to come back after you died, but okay, no problem.
Well, I've heard some people like defend that, like, well, he doesn't kill the main character, and you're like, well, okay, but like
he fully intends to,
and he thought he did.
Yeah.
So
yeah, like
I mean, he watched the body of the main character with a hole in its head fall right in front of him. I mean, he did. He kind of killed the main character.
Sometimes intent matters more than actions,
Mhm.
At the very least, they're equal on a lot of occasions, and this feels like one of those where it's like, yeah, you can't really dance around that, okay?
No.
You can argue about what led him to that decision or how much his heart was in it at the time. Like, there's factors, sure, but he went to kill you. He went to kill you, and he thought he did. Like you said, like you walk out of that cutscene at the most pivotal moment of the game, and he's a smug little shit about it because he thinks he's won.
Mm-hmm.
I was interested in going through the social link because, and I want to hear what you guys thought, because Maisie played it pretty fresh, and I don't think she quite knew that he was going to betray you. I think she kind of did, but also they get along so well through the course of the game. She's like, I don't know, maybe I was wrong. I enjoyed it more, and I wonder if they almost wrote it for this of like, that he's going to have a betrayal, and so when they are hanging out, it really does, like Dave said, it lends itself to that like chess match because of all the foreshadowing and everything that of what's coming. And I almost thought it was written with that knowledge in mind. And I don't know if you guys thought that was the case or it was just really good, interesting writing, but they were still kind of trying to keep it a secret.
I think they wrote it for both audiences, which is clever and difficult to do, really, when you think about it. They wrote it for those who played the vanilla version and were playing Royal. It's like, okay, well, I know what's coming, and they still made it compelling. But also, they kept it secret enough where Akechi's like this, man, we're on opposite sides, but we're kind of friendly with one another. And then Akechi says, I'm going to make the best of you. And you're like, dude, what is he talking about? I'm going to get the best of you? Like, you're going to prove that I'm a phantom thief? What do you think? Oh, God, he's pointing a gun at my... Like, that scene, I think, actually would be more intense with the deeper relationship they have with Akechi if you didn't know what was coming.
Yeah, I kind of agree. I think they just did a clever job of straddling the line as closely as they could. It helps, of course, when you're sort of starting with a template and then filling in pieces afterwards because you already know what was there and then you can just kind of spin on it in creative ways. It's like the opposite of what Kingdom Hearts did as a series, where they're like, "Hey, we have this foundation, let's fuck it completely." And to be clear, like I love Kingdom Hearts, and a lot of those decisions I like. It's just sometimes it got a little bit too screwy for its own good. This was straightforward and simple, but really well done in that simplicity. If you didn't know, then you could still be kind of thrown off by him, like seeming like he might be bad, and then sort of like ransoming the party, but then joining you and then turning on you, despite all those other relationship things happening. If you knew it was coming, like you said, it was just like, oh, well, look at this extra layer now of this behind the scenes of what we already know is coming.
Exactly.
Well,
exactly.
And yeah, Dave, I have to say, if I ever do another D&D character, well, if I ever, I'm sure at some point I will.
I'll never play
I
again.
want to do an Akechi-like character where you're very prim and proper and, tries to kind of be charming, but then... as is revealed in the Showtime event, and I do want to talk about Showtime events, just a complete lunatic. Like, there's two sides of him, and one of those sides is an extreme psychopath. And when he's doing that, he's just like holding his face and screaming and like wanting to stab these creatures. And like, I love that. The duality is so interesting to me because he's arguably the smartest character in the whole game.
Mm-hmm.
You could argue. I mean, some people have a soft spot for Makoto and some others, but like, there's a case to be made that he's the smartest character in the whole thing, and he's also the most unstable.
Yeah, I can agree with that. And the voice actor does everything to say. I can't give that voice actor enough credit. I'm not entirely even sure who it is.
Robbie Draymond, I think, is his name.
Yeah,
that is his name, and he plays a villain in Hunter x Hunter, who is also like the best character in the whole thing in that show too, because he's fascinating there too. He's an extremely good voice actor.
But yeah, the voice actor goes from you can hear the prim and proper, the little giggles, the little "oh my mistake" type of thing to "I will kill you" type of like range, and it's so believable. The game did such a good job too with him, also of having the all out attack, final like cutscene type of thing where he's Crow in the white and he's like hallelujah type of like celebrating, and then a catchy crazy Loki, which he's like he's just evil, like you just see nothing but evil, and it's like, okay, you can really tell how this guy changed. It was awesome.
It's a fun addition to all that post game content because he is basically bonkers at that point, doesn't really care anymore, is going along with this for his own means, but also because he still kind of begrudgingly likes your group, but for the most part he's just using you, or so he thinks. So he just kind of adds to all these scenes where he gets to be like sarcastic or like make a quip that's kind of half crazy, half funny. It's a nice dynamic because, I mean, the party's relatively just a bunch of goody two-shoes, right? Like Ryuji mouths off from time to time, but like for the most part, they're all pretty similar. And now you have this dynamic where it's like, oh, well, this is very different than what I'm used to, and it adds to it, I think, in a good way.
Yep.
Well, and he's impressive. Like, I didn't know we were going to talk so much about Akechi. I'm a big fan of this. He is my favorite character in the whole game. The fact that, like, for example, he's a party member, but you realize at some point that all the things that your group is doing, he also did, but by himself. So, like, you're in this thing, you're traversing the dungeon, sometimes you're getting your ass kicked. He's just on his own, and he's able to, like, keep up with everything. And he's just great. And you got to respect, it plays into the ending, too, which we'll get into, I think, eventually. But, like, he is, like, his resolve is very high. And even though he doesn't always see eye to eye with your team, like, I love the reasons why he cannot allow the ending to happen the way that the villain wants it to happen.
Yeah, I mean, that was my last point on him was just, you're right, the resolve is high because he knows by succeeding he dies. Like, literally, he ceases to exist by succeeding in his mission, which is such a weird... I mean, you're basically playing with house money, I guess, that, but you've literally got nothing to lose at that point, because if you lose, you die, you win, you die, so who cares type of thing. But he could not fathom the idea of living under someone else's control so much that he would rather be dead.
Well, yeah. So, and we're going to get more onto that. I want to actually track the time because I want plenty of time to talk about the ending. So, yep. The other new character was Kasumi.
Kasumi, yep, who I thought was a kind of an interesting character in the sense of, like, she's very prim proper in the beginning, hey, I'm all about gymnastics, I struggle a little bit, but everything's fine. And then, of course, in the new content, everything just breaks down and her world breaks apart around her, literally, in this sense where you find out, obviously, she's not Kasumi. She is directly responsible for the death of her sister Kasumi, and she's Sumire, who couldn't just handle it. One of the things I noticed that stood out to me a lot was the animation. When they showed her change from Kasumi to Sumire, the way the animation changed her body language, her tone of voice, everything did a fantastic job of signifying, no, this is a different person with a completely different mindset. And I thought they did a great job of showing that in the game, not just telling it.
I thought she was lovely. I think she's wonderful. I think she technically, I don't know if I read it somewhere or if it's just what people think. They think she's like the canon love interest. Like, if there is if you prescribe to that, of there being one true canon love interest, it's probably her. Until the very end, which gets a little weird. But
I think in Royal that's true. I mean, obviously she's not in Royal, but I think it was pretty clearly on in the original, and it generally is somebody who ends up in Lovers. I think in Royal, I think you're absolutely right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Except they're all wrong. It's Makoto, but that's fine.
Well, exactly.
Well, as much as I like Makoto, and all three of us kind of are fans of hers here, I don't know that I love her entire arc. For the most part, except the ending, which, again, we keep saying we'll get to, but we will. I think her rank 10 is the best of anybody's. Like, I've watched them all at one point or another, either doing them in-game or just seeing them on the side because I was curious, people I was never going to actually romance, but wanted to see what it was like. I think hers is the best rank 10 scene, and I don't think it's that close, to be honest.
Mm.
Yeah.
I like you said, Dave, she managed to bring a different flavor as another character, the gymnastics angle. Like, I just thought it was funny in her just like battle stance. She like stretches her leg like over her head.
Yeah.
It's just like stupid little details like that I think are cool.
Although her Showtime, I guess we'll get to Showtime attacks if we want to talk about them a little bit later. But it was a little awkward. I think her Showtime attack was just weird.
Yeah, that was a little weird.
Yeah.
Well, but again,
one of my least favorite Showtimes.
She's the canon. I mean, that's it. She's the canon. She's the canon lover. But I mean, why not? Showtime's really quick. Showtimes, they were one of the things that we talked about in the first episode that we're like, I guess we're not going to get to it. But I want to touch on it because it is new. I did love them. I thought they were really funny. My favorite was Haru and Makoto's wrestling one, but a lot of them were like a close second to that. Makoto and Ryuji, very close second.
Yes, the grape soda can.
Yeah.
Well, actually, first thing about Kasumi, I actually wish they would have included her more in the game. I know it probably would have been more development work to do to add her into a lot of this, but I really wish you had her available as a party member, maybe like after Shido's palace or something like that. I wish that she was more prominent as a party member before the final.
Look, it's just hard.
I love Royal. Okay, it's a better P5, which is one of the best games ever made. It's going to be in my top 3 till I die. Okay, let's be very clear about that up front.
Yep.
I agree with you 100%, and I think I could have lived with how little she was in it if the game hadn't trolled its players by thinking that she was going to join you a dungeon earlier and then pushing her away like it was no Luca no.
Mm-hmm.
Doing that, I thought was, I don't think they intended to be cruel with it, but to me it was like, oh, you want this new character? You're excited? You're like social ranked with her, and like she's gonna be the one you choose. Oh yeah, she can join it. Oh, actually, she can't. Sorry.
Yeah.
I thought was a little bit tone deaf.
They tease her in the very beginning of the game. They tease her, and then you catch up to it, and you say like, "Oh, cool, she's gonna be a party member." And then she's like, "Oh no, this is your deal. Like, I don't need to be a part of your stuff. Like, you go on and do it." And then, I just wish that after she saves you or helps you out in Sai's palace, it was like, "Okay, she's a party member now."
Well, and I think Chris has a good point because I knew going into it that they weren't going to do that because they would have to redo every cutscene of the other dungeons and like all of that. Like, I knew they weren't going to go to that length. But then for a second, I was like, am I wrong? Are they actually going to do it for one dungeon? And then like, no, we're just kidding. It's like, why even? I was assuming you weren't going to do it. So why even like tease me?
Yep.
Because it wouldn't have been that hard to put her into one dungeon. It would have been extra work, no question, but this was an entire game of extra work.
Mm-hmm.
And I would resent all of this a lot less, because I feel like we can't talk about Kasumi without talking about her ending. They made a brand new ending for this game.
Mm-hmm.
Multiple, actually. But, the true ending that's supposed to be like the one that you earn and get to, and they barely put her or Maruki in it, who we'll get to in a bit. But, like, I was actually pretty pissed off about that. I think her involvement in the ending is garbage. And it's an extremely disappointing ending to an otherwise phenomenal game. I don't know why. Like, forget it's worse if you romanced her. Okay, that makes it really, really bad. But even if you didn't, and she was just this party member that grew with you over time and then was there for you at the end, it's like she bumps into you at a train station and that's it. That's it. After everything we've been through, well, again, whether you romance her or not, you helped her overcome this like disastrous past of hers, and we bump into each other at a train station, have one line of dialogue, and that's it. Fuck off.
Yeah, it's a little difficult. It's difficult to just get behind. But
well, they don't even try like because you go to their. It's not as though, unless I'm wrong, but it's not as though you're just like happen to be walking by and you see her and you're like, oh hey, like you go there to talk to her, and they could have, if they wanted to, if this was their goal of like, it's too difficult to say goodbye, so we're just going to make this really quick and short and sweet because it's too hard or whatever. But like they don't even really do that, and you're like, now I'm confused.
Yeah, it feels like there was untapped potential in a game that, like Chris said, is in like the top 3 of all time, which is scary to think in a way.
And it's a testament to how good it is, because we've talked before on the show about how a bad ending can ruin something for me in its entirety. It doesn't even approach that at all. It's like it's a big misstep to me. And I remember sitting there when the credits were rolling, being like, "What? Where's the rest? Like, what happened with her?" And even with Maruki, it's a little bit weird. But at least with him, like he was an adversary, so like that at least kind of makes sense to kind of throw him away. With her, I was just like, I don't understand what the point of this was. She would almost been better off not in it at all.
Yeah.
I love all the new stuff, though.
So we were talking about showtimes. No,
forget it. We only have like 20 minutes left. I want to make sure that the like entire I don't even know what you want to call it, because so the other day I was talking to, I think, Jason, and I was like, with Strikers now, I want to have like an end of the trilogy, right?
Mhm.
Like we're two stories in, we might as well go a third. And then I was thinking, depending on how you want to look at it, like this epilogue thing could almost be like Persona 5 2. It's that in depth and it's that interesting of a story. And
So
I just I liked it as much, if not more, than like the main game. I am a sucker for that type of thing. I want to say Card Captor did this a long time ago, where it's like a new reality that you think is real, but like one or two characters know something's wrong and they start to like see through the cracks. And then the fact that it's you and fucking Akechi are the only two that know it. I was like, how? It's like it was written for me.
yeah.
It was
Oh,
unreal. I was so happy.
I think the best place to start about talking about the endings and everything is talking about Maruki and what I liked and didn't like. I mean, or what you guys liked and didn't like about him. I thought he was a compelling character, interesting in his backstory, well written, relatable completely. And then even when he was the adversary, the villain, I was like, I kind of get where you're coming from, bro. Like,
Yep.
I get it.
Well,
Like,
I am usually pretty good about figuring out who is going to betray you. And I think I was so I think I got spoiled on Maruki, but I will say even before that, I should have seen him coming, and I just really didn't, because I just thought he was included as an extra character to really get into the psyche and the psychology behind everything going on in the game. I didn't know that they were priming him to be the bad guy. Maybe I should have, but I like to think you can really call things out when you have like a second to kind of like think about it. And I was really just immersed in all of the scenes with Maruki. I was like, this is just a cool guy. You get to go more in depth with all the characters. He always wants to offer snacks. I think he's great.
you're very relatable to him. I like snacks.
Yeah. He's like, I'm going to psychoanalyze you. Have a cookie. And I went and I told Maisie, like, he did this thing about a cookie, and like, if you think it's the best cookie ever, like, all this, I just thought his dialogue was so interesting.
It was well written. It was perfectly tied in throughout the game to make you realize, oh shit, we gave all of the weapons we needed to our final adversary. Like throughout the entire game, all we did was give him exactly what we end up fighting against, which is crazy how they weaved that in without you even realizing it.
This is not really meant to pat myself on the back, but I 100% saw it coming, and I remember telling Shaun about it in advance. I think you were ahead of me, so you would have known if I was right or not at the time. I actually went too far with my prediction. I thought the treats were drugged. I thought
Okay.
he was actually, like, over time lacing them with something that was going to come up in the final chapter. Like, it was going to be that. Like, all the psychoanalysis was going to be to his, like, advantage, but it was also going to be how he got you into this, like, alternate state. Because if there was no mementos anymore, how was he going to pull this off? Well, they worked around that in a way that was probably better anyways, don't get me wrong. But once, I didn't think it right away, but once those started to get really deeply personal and also started to be, like, dancing around the subject of the Phantom Thieves constantly, I was like, oh no. Like, this dude knows, and he's going to use it against us some way or another. And I actually really like him as a villain, because like you said, he's not strictly a villain anyways, but it's... Japanese RPGs frequently try to go to the misunderstood or person who took a different approach type of villain. Like, we can never truly reconcile because our points of view are different, but I'm trying to do what's best for the world too. This one did such a much better job of justifying it that I thought it was light years ahead of almost anything else we'd seen. Because at the end of the day, you could see the cracks in Maruki's plan. Like, you know, people couldn't possibly have this paradise working for them, and you could see people like in the world questioning it, right? But you also know that the world that the Phantom Thieves existed in before it was flawed. Like, we already know what the real world's flaws are, so you can make a compelling case that even with the flaws of Maruki's world, it's still worth considering.
Yeah, and like, also to quibble with that a little bit, but also like it supports the whole point that we've been saying, is like, he wasn't really using it against them either. He was just, thank you for telling me, now I will make your dreams come. So it's not like it was like devious where like, now I know your secrets, I'm going to use it to defeat you. He's like, oh, now I'm going to make your perfect world come true. And legitimately think, because like he could have killed you at any time, really, until the end. And he was like, I'm going to give you a chance. I want you to come to my side of my side of thinking. And it was like tragic because you have somebody who really did believe that they were doing the right thing. And like, you know, when Thanos is like, I'm the good guy, you're like, okay, like, come on. But when Maruki's like, I'm the good guy, it's like, I really believe that, like, you believe that truly. And I can see how you would be. And so this makes this like difficult to do.
Well, it's not only that you believe it, because Thanos probably believed it too, but you believe it. And there are a lot of people who will agree with you as well. Like, not just fringe psychos. Like, there are a lot of very well-meaning, who they would consider good people, who would be like, yes, this is a good reality of people are happy, like loved ones are back. But what you keep seeing throughout, like Chris said, the cracks in this is that, like, the overarching theme is that everybody's accomplishments in life are better than a perfect life. Like the idea of Maruki's reality comes in, and like all the Phantom Thieves are still friends, despite the fact that Wakaba's alive, that Haru's dad is a good person, that Makoto's dad is still alive. It's like, you know what? They wouldn't be friends. Like, they wouldn't even be together if these bad things didn't happen. They wouldn't even be friends. Because what reason would Haru need to join the Phantom Thieves to go into Okumura's palace? There isn't one. There isn't a palace if her dad's a good guy. Makoto Saya wouldn't be who she is if her, you know, there's so many things that happen that made these people who they are, that they wouldn't even be together if these bad things didn't happen, that Maruki just snapped away.
They have a theme running through Persona, through 5, and maybe the other ones. I haven't cared as much to really analyze the other ones, but where it's like a lot of the times the conflict is actually true and it applies to like the majority of people. So like there are a lot of people who would be like, yeah, I can have my dream world. There's a few cracks in it. That's fine. Sign me up. But like the Persona series kind of says, but there are exceptions. And because of the exceptions, it can't be like that. And so I think the ultimate message is like, as humans, we should strive to achieve a little bit more and to overcome our flaws and not just like give up, not be plastered to our phone all the time or whatever the other messages are. And I think it does it really well. I think the deeper message in Persona, especially for a medium that I think is overlooked a lot, is pretty impressive. And I think it really is driven home by this ending sequence. I don't know what you want to call it. The Maruki Palace. Maybe that's the easiest thing, but
yeah,
I think it's great. I was compelled for every hour of the 25 to 30 that I spent doing it.
Yeah. It added to my being compelled by it in the fact of, I watched originally the bad ending, and I put bad in quotes specifically because was it that bad? Like, you watch this and you're like, well, everybody's really happy. Like, there's nothing wrong with this, and Maruki's just a guy, and like, nothing is wrong at all, which I guess is the real problem. But you watch it and you're like, the old bad ending was like, wow, you gave up on your morals. The old bad ending was like, you made a deal with the devil, basically. How dare you? This one's like, well, everybody's happy. Like, what's wrong?
Chris and I talked about this. Like, there are some people who actually consider that the good ending.
Mm-hmm. Particularly those who are dissatisfied with some of the aspects of the true ending. They've kind of latched onto that instead, being like, well, hey, maybe this wasn't so bad after all.
And it's funny because you watch that ending and you're expecting something kind of sinister to happen, and like it never does. He just like takes a picture and then walks away.
Yep.
Yeah, maybe your character gets a flash of like something seems wrong, but there's no like, he's clearly not like the king. He hasn't done it for his own good. He really did make everybody happy.
No, he truly does. He doesn't want power. He doesn't want control. I mean, in a way, I guess it is control, but he wants control in the sense of giving the people what they want.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't think Maruki's a total saint, and I think
no.
By the very end, I still don't think he's a bad person, and I think his intents are still very good, but I think you can see the power has gotten to him a little bit, because it's no longer just about trying to do what's right. He's sort of leveraging this ability over you to get you to fall in line by the very end, which I think is actually kind of a cool twist, because again, it doesn't make him a villain. He does want to do what's right, and he does want to help you, but you can see a change in his conversation ever so slightly, where it goes from like, I'm doing this for everybody's good, to being like, I know what's right for everyone, and I'm going to make sure everyone shows this vision, which is a really subtle thing that I like to quite a bit.
Yeah.
And then they make that relatable. They make his loss of power relatable. And then originally I hated this, but I kind of grown to love it. He ends up literally punch for punch with Joker. And originally I kind of hated that. And after a while I'm kind of like, this man is down to his last straw. Like, his entire dream of life has been taken away. He had everything he ever wanted, and this person take away, I'm going to literally punch you in the face. And I kind of get it.
Yeah, I mean, just like both of their will, and like they're exhausted, they're running on fumes, and all they can do is just punch each other. But like, you've met an equal in terms of like ambition to Joker, and in terms of willpower. And yeah, I thought it was great.
Yeah, it was complex. It was compelling. I mean, the entire arc. Honestly, I think it started out a little dull in the sense of like, all you did was run around your friends and be like, hey guys, doesn't something seem wrong around here? Think about it, and you take off. Like, you do that like 8 times in a row. It's kind of like,
I love that. I think that's a fair criticism, and I loved every second of it.
Yeah,
still though.
Same. I can see why people wouldn't like it, but I was like, hey, Haru, I don't want to ruin this for you, but at the same time, and don't worry about it. If you think twice about it, come see me.
And then also the shock of just being like, who's this boy in my bed? Why is this blonde hair, this blue-eyed, black-haired boy in my bed and snuggling with me? And oh, it's Morgana. No one questions this. Okay, he's still asleep. Okay, no problem. Like, the cat sleeping in your bed makes a little more sense than the boy sleeping in your bed, but whatever. Just roll with it.
Yeah. God, it's so good. And I also loved in the end, so you get in the bad ending, in the credits, you get like the dream life of everybody, and Morgana has all the gifts, like for On, so they're like together, probably dating. I loved it.
Which is a nice ending for Morgana that he absolutely doesn't deserve.
Why? I love Morgana.
I think Morgana should be happy. I don't think he should be with On whatsoever, because he's a fucking incel when it comes to her, and they should be as far apart as possible.
Well, and honestly, you touch on a point that really breaks down Maruki's whole world, his whole goal of, what about when your wishes conflict with another person's wishes?
Yep.
Like,
but then they change the wish, and then what is that ethical or?
But that was kind of the problem that I had. I was surprised they didn't just have like an individual cognition for everyone that was just tailored to their whims, as opposed to this one collective shared one, because it seemed fraught with problems and bursting at the seams. I'm not even saying that's a criticism of it. I just thought that was interesting because, without Joker there to have a chance to break this out, everybody would just be there and that would be it, right? But because there's these conflicts in between, like what happens when 2 people were pining for the same girl? So you overwrite one of their wills. Well, then are they really truly living their best life with their desires?
Yep.
Or is that just Maruki making a decision for them with what he thinks is best, which then goes back to, is he just flawed as well?
Well, and then like you get in like competition. It's my dream to win like first place. So you're like, okay, it takes multiple people who want that dream. So then one person gets it, but then if others don't want it, is there even a competition anymore? Or do you happen to find the saps who are like, you know what? I just like doing it for the spirit of the competition. I'm fine. My dream was to win second.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. So yeah, it does break down. And I think that's the point. And like, you can't actually, and this is why all those people are wrong. Like, you can't actually argue that his way is the right way. I like that it makes you stop and think.
Yeah.
And I like that he's coming from a place where if you squint, it makes sense. But like, you're not going into the final battle thinking, I think I'm going to throw this, actually. I think Maruki's right.
Yeah. You're right. And it's anybody who says that the bad ending is the true ending, it's just flawed. Like, there is no way you can argue this. I can't fathom a way to wrap my head around the fact that this is the right ending because of all the problems that it comes with, of all the breakdowns it comes with, and it's just not reality. Like you said, like the strive for competition, like the drive to be the best is the rewarding part, not being the best, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny that they try and call that the true ending when, well, it's kind of pedantic to say, like, it can't be true. It's completely made up to begin with.
Yeah, yeah.
It's illusionary. And while you can argue that might be what's best, that's a fine argument to make. At the end of the day, if you have vanilla ice cream for every meal, at the end, you're not going to like vanilla ice cream for very long. If you don't have setbacks, if you don't have things that drive you, force you to improve, force you to push forward, then what have you earned from those things that they're just handed to you? So, like, while it seems good in the moment, would that illusory life really hold up for 60 years of someone's existence? I mean, maybe. Who the fuck knows? I mean, I've never had a life where everything was just handed to me on a silver spoon, but I don't think it would have the same weight over time.
I mean, the thing I thought about the entire time is like, if I was to be put in this situation, I could have a life where all my pain, past pains, current pains have been taken away, and I have no problems at all. But if you always had this feeling of uneasiness, like Joker had, like once Joker kind of brought it up to his friends, like how they had this feeling of uneasiness, like wait, something seems off here. Like, would that really be worth it? Of like, if you could never have a headache again, but you always kind of felt a little stomach ache, just that little minor one, like, this doesn't feel right. Like, would that be good? Like, I don't know. Like, it would be a trade-off that I don't know if that I'm willing to make.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think it's interesting in the base game, you have the rebels against like power and anarchy against the man. And like you kind of get that here too, but it's against like this like paradise that is being sold, and they're like, we're gonna rebel. And I think they even say it like, we don't know if our way is right necessarily. We just know what we believe in, and we're gonna do it. And so like rebels to the end, and I loved it, man.
Yep. So I have just a few like last little tidbits, I think, just about the extra stuff that have been added in.
Okay.
Josie, I wish they expanded on a little more. I don't know if that's something.
It's Jose.
Josie.
It's not Josie.
Jose.
Jose, can you see?
Yep, exactly. Like, I don't know if maybe other Persona games has expanded on what this character is, but it's kind of like, hey, there's this kid running around Mementos. He'll give you stuff. Okay, bye. Like, that's it. Like, I never felt there was a conclusion, an explanation, anything with him, and I wish there was a little bit more.
Is he one of the optional battles in New Game Plus?
No, he's an optional battle at the end of this one. Did you neither? I don't. No. I fought him. I don't know that you really get a big explanation. I don't remember it.
They generally don't, because a lot of times you fight against the Velvet Room occupants too, and they don't really go into any more additional details as far as where they came from or what their deal is. It's kind of just more of like a fun fight than it is a story-based thing. But
they might go into it. You guys should do the optional fight and let me know, because I might have just forgotten. I don't really care. He's some stupid little boy. He's fine, but he gives me flowers. He adds an element to Mementos that was not there before, so I appreciated him, but he wasn't like my favorite character.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of Mementos, I love how they changed the music throughout Mementos. We talked about that on our Lost episode, but
the music, the stamps, the flowers. There's just so much
scenery.
more to it now. Yeah.
They make it worthwhile, because Mementos for me before was like, why the hell do I have to go in Mementos? This is kind of dumb. And then now it's like, okay, I still don't love it, but at least it feels a little bit more rewarding to do, essentially.
Yeah, because with Tartarus and Persona 3, the whole point of it was to be a grind, a slog, as you just rose your way through this fucking tower. This was a side thing, so it did need that extra bit of oomph to make it more worthwhile. Because I liked that aspect of it, and kind of harkening back to 3, but it didn't really feel that good when you had to keep going into it. Mm-hmm. Now, I mean, every time I wouldn't say I was looking forward to it, but I was never disappointed either. I was just like, okay, cool. I'm here to do this now for a while.
I ended up knowing a little bit about the first game, since I played through the first game, and knowing how the missions in Mementos worked. I loaded up as many Mementos missions as I could before I went in. So it's like, well, 5 different quests. All right, now it's time to go in Mementos, as opposed to before it'd be like, oh, I got a new one. Let's go.
Oh,
like,
yeah, no, that's...
that's horrible time management. So you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
When I first started playing, I had no idea. I didn't really understand the concept behind it. Now I do, so I get it now. The twins, I love the dates with the twins. I thought it was fun. It was just stupid and fun, and I thought it was kind of interesting. Just like showing like them being so confused by the human world. It's like, wait, you take fish and you put them in a cage? Why? Like, okay, well, because this is an aquarium. That's what it is. Deal with it.
Yeah, this is another staple, at least from 3 on, because I haven't played the first 2, but the Velvet Room denizens never have a damn clue about the world outside. So there's generally something you can do with them, whether it's a confidant or what they did in 5 here with the twins. The difference is the twins have their own bickering in addition to playing off the main characters, so they were probably my most entertaining ones. But don't sleep on 3 for that.
They had no value these cutscenes other than the cutscenes themselves, which were like a reward in and of themselves.
Yeah, I mean, you got a ability card at the end of them usually, so
yeah, right.
Exactly. So,
yeah, that's why.
And dismissal.
If you look at my list of characters and why I didn't spend time with them, Yusuke, unfortunately, was not high on that list because I didn't give a shit about skill cards.
Yeah, it was not. I think I used a couple where I'm like, ooh, hey, look, I do like counterattack. I'm gonna do that. Okay, good. Moving on.
I just hoarded them. I never used them, and even then going into Royal, when I'm like, all right, this time I'm gonna make a concerted. No, it didn't happen. It just doesn't happen. I wish it did. I should, but it didn't.
So the last battle of Maruki was supposed to be an epic one, and I think they did a pretty good job of making it epic. It was kind of annoying. The tentacles thing was really annoying, but it was good overall once you kind of figured out how to, you got to the point where you could do the 4 baton pass at the end, and you're like, sweet, I never get to do 4 baton passes or 3 baton passes. This is great. And
so baton passes are a great new thing. They took an element that was kind of ignored, I think, in the first one, and they made it a main staple of the gameplay. Like, you were baton passing almost every fight that went past the ambush stage in Royal, and that was great. The final battle, the lead up to that with a new song, that song is hype. I love that song.
The song, the giant staircase that you had to run spiral up, yes, inject that. Like, the anticipation of it running up was just inject that into my veins.
Yeah.
Like, the music, the staircase, oh man, we're doing it. We finally made it through this palace. We are doing this. Let's take him down. Like, yes. Build up in that is so much fun. I love that stuff.
I loved it.
Yeah, I love that stuff.
That fight must have been impossible if you didn't level up Baton Pass.
Oh yeah, I can't imagine how you possibly do that. Like, because my role would be like, okay, I'd have one person attack physical, one person attack this tentacle with lightning, and then psycho, and then Haru would cast her spell that like gives all the protection, a physical and magical wall to everybody. So then at least I would always have protection against their hits, type of thing, and then I'd repeat basically. And Haru's thing was like 95 SP. I'm like, well, now it's 0 SP. So here we go.
Yeah, lots of fun combinations for that. Good addition. And one point I'll make just real quick is that overall, the new integrations were weaved in a smart and terrific way. A lot of them were forced on you, and I think that was smart. It's the same way with, like, you had to experience the new Akechi content if you wanted the true ending. You were forced to. If you didn't have it to a certain level by a certain date, you were locked out of that ending. Well, the new part of the game wouldn't have made much sense if you didn't spend that time with Akechi anyways. So, like, good. Make me earn it.
Yeah.
It was, I mean, I can't even imagine if you didn't level those people up. You didn't do the confidant link of Maruki. You didn't do the confidant link of Akechi. And it's like, all right, here's the ending. Okay, bye. Like, you don't get to play the new ending. It's like, wow, there's 30 hours of gameplay that I just missed out on because I didn't check a box, basically. It's like, that would kind of suck to be like, all right, reload 100 hours. Let's do it again.
I wish they had actually said a little bit, because I agree with Chris. Like, if you haven't done it, you don't deserve it. But if you don't know that Maruki is critical to the ending, so you don't know to do that. So, like, a little bit of warning of, like, hey, make sure you talk to these individuals. Maybe it would have been good, because by that point, then you're 100 hours in, and you're like, oh.
Well, and
I gotta go back.
And Maruki disappears earlier, so that's the one I think was the most dangerous.
Yeah.
Because all of a sudden you're like, oh, he's leaving then tomorrow. Go say goodbye. And you're like, well, I am 3 or 4 social links away from that, so fuck me, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, man.
So,
I gotta say, I gotta throw in, they tease me again. They know my heart with the after credits. Akechi in the background. Or someone dressed as Akechi. It's Akechi. Yeah. Who's gonna just dress like that on the subway? Nobody. Only Akechi. So that's really why I need another game, is because I need one that's now gonna link Zenkichi and Sophia and Akechi and Kasumi all in one big final narrative.
That's going to be a tangled web that they're going to have to unweave.
That's
somehow.
Fine. I have faith that they can do it.
Yeah, because is that like Good Boy Akechi who's had all this stuff undone because like the way cognition worked, or is this just like the psychopath who's in this world now? Who knows?
Well, I hope it's a psychopath in a way, because the psychopath showed like growth. Like, he's kind of a good guy by the end. But
I mean, by circumstance only, I think.
Yeah, I
He's
was
kind
gonna
of
say.
the enemy of my enemy is my friend.
If we unleash him back on the normal world with people that he claims to despise, I'm not sure if that's necessarily a good look.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to go well.
Like
Well,
he's a decent person by the end, sure. He has something inside of him still, but I don't think that's great.
I think he's part of the team now. By the end of it,
I mean, yeah, sure.
he's not going to go on a killing spree anymore. But if he were to return to like before, like if none of this, if he doesn't remember any of the experience in Maruki's palace, then yeah, it's a little bit dangerous territory. But maybe that's the plot. Maybe it's like, Akechi, you helped us. Please remember. I would love that.
I have faith in the writers. They can tie it together, because all they need to do is sick the Morgana copter that they came out as a Deus Ex Machina, and they'll write their way out of it. Don't worry.
Yeah.
Sick the Morgana copter on them, and they'll be fine.
Exactly.
But they don't take many easy ways out, so I don't begrudge them that, you know?
No, they don't.
For the most part, everything just made a lot of sense, and the 120 hours I spent with it were great, and it's a 10 out of 10. I'm not going to waste time reading it. We already talked it to death. But...
Yeah, I mean, the original's 10 out of 10, and this is better. So, like,
yeah, so
11
10 and
out
a
of
half
10,
out of 10,
I
I
don't know.
guess. Like 12 out of 10. I don't know what to mark this, but
because I mean, it can't be perfect. There's no such thing, and something that long was always going to have some kind of imperfection in it, like the qualms I have with the ending. But I don't give a damn.
yeah, no, it still was. It was a work of art. I was enthralled. I mean, when I consider the fact that I spent 100 hours on the first game, 130 hours almost on the second game, and now I'm 15 hours into Persona 5 Strikers, like, so I'm 250 hours almost of gameplay into all these things, and it's like, keep going.
It's a game that I know I'm going to play again. Like, at some point, I'm definitely going to go through it again, because I just have so much joy playing through it. So,
yeah, I hope that it is something that they continue to make accessible with future games. I mean, I know Persona 6 is going to be, whenever made, is going to be 5-6 years down the road, likely, on this one. And who knows, maybe it won't even end up on PlayStation 5. I don't know. We'll see. But I look forward to it as a day one purchase type of thing.
If it doesn't end up on PlayStation 5, we have some serious problems. That means it's taken, like, 20 years to develop or something.
Well, that and like, how soon can a PS6 come out? Not everybody can even get a goddamn PS5 yet.
It's fair.
Yeah.
How can they start making a 6 when they can't even make enough 5s?
But there's a chance I'm not gonna like 5, and these characters and this story and this theme is just really, really special, and like I'm looking forward to 6, but like I don't know if they're gonna recapture that for 6.
That's kind of what happened with me, and I've talked about before with Final Fantasy X, of how much I love the characters, how much I love that game, and then 11 was an MMO, and 12 like everything just changed going forward, and I haven't found that same glow of a Final Fantasy game since.
Yeah, but like 10-2 even.
Yeah, even 10-2 was terrible. Yeah.
Same idea.
You got to give
so
12
far,
another shot, but for the purpose of this review, I understand where you're coming from.
Yeah.
Your metaphor, I get.
A certain moment in time can't be duplicated. Even if you went back to 12 and liked it, it's not going to recapture 10. They're not alike at all.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it had to hit you a certain way. Yeah, I mean...
So I'm hoping that... I mean, I would love if they take Shaun's idea and just make this a trilogy where they have Persona 5 Royal, Strikers, and then they combine the two in some sort of third game to end this out and have these same characters. Because it's going to be hard to start anew with a new batch of characters, I think. Because you're so used to them.
I'm ready for 6. I'm not saying I would turn down more 5. I would love more 5, but I'm ready for 6. Because I came out of 4 thinking, like, man, it's going to be hard to top that. And they did in almost every conceivable way, which I never would have imagined. I could have imagined 5 being better than 4, but not that I would love it in a way that I didn't think was possible.
Well, so I'm looking forward to 6 because it's the next opportunity we're going to have for a true Persona experience. The day planning and the social links and all of that.
Yeah.
They're not going to duplicate that for a spin-off game because I think it takes too much time. But, do we get Persona 5-3 in another Muso game? Do we get a fighter like they did for the Persona 4 series? They released 2 sequels that were fighting games. I would play it. I'd be fine with that. Give me more Persona 5 in any way. And you have Persona 5 Royal to blame for that. We gave it a 10. We did the review. We did everything. I don't know what left there is to say about
Play
it.
the game, dumbasses.
Yeah.
We've already had Persona. This is Strikers is actually Persona 5-3 because we had Dancing in Starlight. That's Persona 5-2.
Oh,
so
you're right.
Wrap it up.
We're
all
done.
set.
Bring us 6.
We're done.
this year. Let's go. All right, that's the end of this episode. Play Persona 5 Royal. It's full stop. If you've ever liked any kind of RPG, you should at least enjoy this. That's the end of the sentence. That's the end of the episode. In between shows, find us at our website, objectionnetwork.com, or youtube.com/objectionnetwork for new videos 7 days a week. We'll see you next time.